makes a sigil in the sky. I don't want to say it, but I'll show here. And this book, well, I mean, this book is The Empire on Which the Black Sun Never Sets, because the Third Realm was very into, what's up, Ani? The third, what's up?
Going on with y'all, man?
Hey, we're live on YouTube, Ani, so, we got to keep it a little, not too PG, but, just a little.
That's cool, man. What's
I'm going to get in trouble.
My question for BDELL is that Polaris seems to be very important to the ancients. Even the Georgia Guidestones had a little glory hole, I call it, that pointed straight to Polaris. Polaris, it doesn't move. So we can see that this is an important symbol, an important star, or whatever it is. And so whenever this aligns at a certain time, things change. I forget where I was going with that. I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah, a lot of the reason that's in correlation, actually, because a lot of the stuff happens when you at the close of an age, and it all works in tandem with the precessional circle of the equinox. So
there's a strong connection to Polaris too with Nibiru, and with the whole power thing. Some people believe it's an allegory. Other people believe it actually is talking. I always love to hear your theories. And one thing you told me a long time ago that changed how I podcast. You told me certain people weren't able to have conversations. Like they just had to be in echo chambers and only hear what they could believe. But the real good people, they could have conversations. Even if they didn't believe something somebody was talking about, they could still have that conversation. And when you mentioned that in a live before with us, and that really resonated with me in, the way I interview now, because we're not all going to agree on everything. And if you got someone just trying to, tear down a person's theory or something, it kind of makes the podcast suck,
Right.
So that really stuck with me. And you said it much better. It sounded more intelligent when you said it. Way more intelligent. But could you break down your theory on the DNA activation, what you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a theomorphic consciousness. It's a term that a new Gnostic sect was coming up with in the late 60s with some of the Bertio movement and things that came out of the Kenneth Grant sects as well, where they were saying that there will be an aeon of people who unlocked certain abilities spiritually. So that's why when you ask me about Supercell and me looking at the show, and when we did the last breakdown of abilities, I believe it's more spiritual than it's somebody actually flying or these things. Now, there are texts going back to slavery that melanated people actually flew home from America back to Africa. You can actually type that in. It's called the slave narratives. It's called the slave narratives. You can type it in and type in slaves who flew home.
Did you ever hear that story? David Wilcox talked about that dude from Africa that the government tried to kill him and he had superpowers and they chopped him up. And this dude kept remanifesting and coming back. Like they would try to kill him. And he said one day that there will be a lot of us that come and you can't take us all out. That was a story anyways. Cool story.
Yeah, there's been plenty of priests in different magical systems, spiritual systems coming out of the diaspora, which a lot of things, just like how we look at voodoo or abilities that some of their priests or priestesses, their mambos may have these certain abilities. It comes straight out of the continent, but there were also things going on here, with hoodoo, where they had never learned certain sciences that some of the people were bringing over to Louisiana. That's why that's a big central area. Whereas this woman a Creole woman by the name of, her name is slipping my mind right now,
What
but
does
they
Creole
said that
mean? I always wondered that. What's Creole mean?
it's just
Like,
a
is it
mixture of, it's a mixture of French and Negro and something else. It's a mixture of mainly, it's a blend of that. It's just a lighter skin tone person of African descent that
like a
has
mixture?
French blood. But there was a woman who was able to conjure tornadoes and hurricanes coming out of Louisiana. A matter of fact, she said at her funeral, well, the day before she passed, that there was going to be a hurricane, and they didn't believe her. And she
How
was,
about the dragon people, Ani? In the Chinese culture, there's called the dragon people, and they believe there was like these reptilian entities that could manipulate the weather and hurricanes. You ever hear about them?
no, I don't really, I don't really get into
There's the
the
Naga. If you look into the Naga and these different,
I believe that there are airbender people that learn certain interwoven connections with chi that can connect to the elementals, and there is a manipulation. But I don't believe or subscribe to this new theory, whereas the DNA is going to all of a sudden give everybody these abilities out of nowhere. This is a thing that is progressive over time, where things are being unlocked in certain people that belong to certain theomorphic consciousness that was here in the beginning before it was physical. That means in planes of dimensionality, before we get physical bodies, they belong to that particular spiritual lineage.
right?
You will get these abilities that when the plane was half astral, half etherical, less dense and less density, they had certain abilities, whereas you didn't have. And those abilities will return over time. Now, some of the people saying this one day is going to be everybody get these abilities. I don't think it's not more like a cartoon or anything like that. I think it's very scientific that we can look at how the biology is going to shift and people get these abilities and everything. And it's very, very much been documented that they've been seeing children able to bend spoons with their minds, and seeing certain people able to do certain things. And the government has been keeping a close eye on these things and opening or starting these programs. So when I was looking at the show, I noticed they said super cell.
Yeah, like sickle cell. It's a play on sickle cell.
Yeah, a cell is a double entendre as well, because they had them in cells. And then you have these private prison companies. How deep does that go of capturing people and putting them in these cells and harvesting their DNA, because they're injecting and taking out things throughout the show I'm witnessing, harvesting their DNA, harvesting their melanin or whatever thing that they're looking into to.
Oh yeah, they harvest the melanin too. It's a very amazing conductor of energy. So they're using it in computers and all kinds of shit now. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, they've been using it for a while. Matter of fact, the word, the Hindu word drug, when you do the research and you go back, the word drug actually comes from the Hindu interpretation of melanin. Literally, the word drug. When you look back and find those texts, I can pull. I don't have them on me right now, but they're in my phone. So
is it in the blood?
It's in the blood. It's in the it's not just in the blood. This melanin isn't just your skin color. That's melanocyte. So people need to go ahead and get out of that. It's not. It's your skin color. It's that your skin color is melanocytes, and that is a form of what melanin draws. Melanin is the spiritual architect of drawing the blueprint of how your body is literally going to look in this existence. Before it even comes in this existence, melanin is the consciousness in the spiritual world that draws the blueprint of how things are going to look. It draws your neural system, it draws your veins, it draws everything before it develops. It's this consciousness that does that. So I want people to start looking at that term more broadly than just looking at, is it just black people or more darker toned people? It's way bigger than that. It's a spiritual study to understand this thing.
Could I show you something, Monty?
Sure.
So I've been doing a study lately on the biofield and seeing if it's real. You know, a lot of people
of the plasma field, which can be documented around the body. If it is a sort of intelligent life form, certain plasmas, means that it would be a soul. So we would be a soul within a soul. And I always thought that was wild. That quote that he said in The Demon in the Ecker, which means the mountain. And you're talking about earlier how the elites know these events happen, like these black sun type events happen, and they go underground. Now a lot of these underground bases are built within the mountain, and so like the story of the demon in the Ecker, which means mountain, and also the mountain, and also the Twin Peaks too. I noticed on Marina Abramovic, the where she writes on the wall. I did a podcast and I haven't looked at that stuff in so long, but right at the bottom where she talks about cutting the finger, at the bottom it has the Twin Peaks. It has the A and the A, which I thought was interesting.
Wow.
Of course. You know, she's got so much esoteric shit within her stuff. When you really look at it, it's crazy. And who knows what type of spells that lady's putting on us, right?
Exactly.
Right.
As I was telling you before,
bro, you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, bud.
No, as I was saying before, you know, everything is an energy extraction, and as you was talking about the chakra system, it's in alignment with the endocrine system. So when you have your 7 energy cortexes in alignment, that is basically the personification of your scroll of all, which is your 7 tablets of destiny. So when you have these etheric frequencies like merging in with your scroll of all, that's when you tap into certain abilities. So like the great majority of everything, these ley line grid systems.
Oh, no, yeah.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. It says prototypically in the middle of a city, there is a stellar polar symbolism of a pole right in the middle of cities. They have a pole symbolism to symbolize the North Star. And the ley lines, how they construct it in certain areas, because the churches are built specifically dealing with the ley lines. They don't just build a church to build a church. There is certain ley lines you can look at in Britain and other European countries where they have the St. Michael ley line, where they have a ton of churches just built on this line that goes around the globe, or it goes around the plane, you know, before the globers and flat earthers start getting in my emails for saying that. And there's
likes, guys, please. You got 1,000 people in here and 42 likes on the video. That don't make no type of sense.
Yeah, guys, make sure to like the video.
Thank you.
And yeah, so they call it Templarism. So based on the astrotheological alignment during certain times, portals open up over certain areas. They've been studying this for the longest. Matter of fact, the Catholic Church has been studying this, how to obtain holy possession. It was a term. I have to look back at what the term was. I think they call it divine possession. So instead of a demon possessing the body. They've been studying when does these ley lines open so they can have a direct connection to the super force potential of what we call God or angels, which are sempiternal plasmic beings, can come down, possess their body, and give them information interdimensionally of things. So they've been trying to get possessed literally by these angelic or otherwise God itself for the longest, based on where these portals open up in the Van Allen belt or the different levels of the tropole and ionosphere. These rays of energy come down directly from the stars, these bodies, based on where you're at a certain time. So even the Masons been recording that. They show it in their iconography that when they show the stars and they show the ladder, they're showing you that there is something like another temple that people don't see with the physical eye, that is interdimensional, that you can enter if you raise your vibration high enough to see these things and interact with them.
Is that basically the symbology to the interstellar gateway? Is that what you're basically talking about?
Sounds correct. Yes,
Okay.
more. It is a gateway that they're looking, but it's several gateways because there is a multiverse.
Right.
And there's a gateway opening now on the planet. I will tell people, I've been telling people about the quantum bodies gateway, whereas when you have a dream, you could be having a dream about a state, another version form of you in a different reality of the multiverse. You ever had a dream?
Yeah, what's your theory on that? I have them all the time. Do you think we're really experiencing it?
Yes, I'm trying to explain it.
Okay, go ahead.
The multiverse, there's several versions, there's infinite versions of you. They call it the infinite hotel equation. That's what it's called. It shows like the hotel is, if I could pull it up later, but in the infinite hotel equation, it's like what the Tower of Babel represents. You know, it's literally, how do you fill up a hotel that's infinite of rooms? It's because the consciousness, the souls are coming in so much that the person who occupies the first room has to move up, and it moves up infinitely. So we have these different networks connected to the multiverse, whereas when you're dreaming, sometimes you can just open up the network and you can enter into a quantum body of you somewhere on the other side of the multiverse. And otherwise, when you made a decision in this realm, say if I made a decision to go left or right, in the other realm, you actually selected the opposite decision of what you made in this realm, which caused a whole other.
Well, what happened on you?
You know what's yeah, it froze, and I was googling that
things in your life is completely different.
Oh, there, you're back now. You froze. They froze you for about 30, 40 seconds.
Okay,
we didn't hear what you said.
I bet they did.
They did.
But go ahead.
Repeat whatever you said there.
I was saying that you enter into a different multiverse consciousness of you on the other side, where you made another decision and your whole life is different.
Yes, like the Apple series Dark Matter. It's pretty much all about that. Okay.
Right. They're showing you it. They're showing the black cube is literally the doorway on the other side of the multi. The black cube just represents another, it's an iconography of consciousness.
That's not evil like we've been led to believe either.
No, I mean,
so many people are like, oh, Tommy, you made your new logo, the black cube. I'm like, you don't even understand what it means. Like, you know, it's so funny. But the whole time it's been connected to being evil, right? The whole Saturn matrix narrative with the, right?
Well, if you speak about Saturn matrix, that's a term literally they developed that does mean that it affects consciousness. So evil is depending on the perspective. Okay. If you saw me shoot an old woman, you would say that was evil. But if I came back and told you the old woman killed my whole family,
Right.
you would say justice.
It's perspective, right?
Evil is perspective. It's all perspective. Evil was created as an extremity of polarity. But the cue, going in what you were saying, in dark matter, the doorways, you saw the infinite doorways, that's the infinite hotel equation. They're showing you it and they could enter into another field of consciousness, a whole other reality, right, Tommy, based on their emotions.
Yes. So depending on what their emotions were when they opened that door, that would be the around. It's like as within, as without, right? So that's what they would vision. Whatever society, it was like if they were real scared and thinking something negative, they would open that door and it was just chaos. That's kind of crazy to think about that. It kind of makes you like, man, I got to be careful what I put my energy into and what I allow into me, right?
Right. Well, they're saying right before you go to sleep, which I talk about dream physics. How do you construct your mind? Do you actually write in your dream journal?
I do. And
you can pinpoint places and go directly to them. I'm telling you this right now. You can go directly to these places. And even when you wake up, and you leave off at that place, they've been studying how you can go right back into the dream.
Yep.
And enter in the same spot you were before you left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a form of remote viewing is what you're talking about there.
I was in the show Evil you recommended. You saw that in there?
Oh, bro, did you like Evil?
I'm not done with it, but yeah, it's pretty decent.
I knew you would like it, Ani. I can't wait to decode that with you. I always love doing the movie decodes with you because you usually see something that I don't see. That's why I like doing them with you and Donna. You guys see shit I don't.
You brought up the remote viewing, and there was remote viewers pointing to this weekend for July 15th, and that an event would happen. But it's also in the stars with Algol. I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts are on this certain date yesterday, 713, which is an 11, like 7, 3, whatever, like it equals 11. And there's like just all this 11 stuff that happened at 1811 military time. And there's a lot of 911 symbolism. This event that took place yesterday happened at 611, which if you just flip that backwards, it's 911.
Oh, 611, Godzilla 611. We just came out with that whole new Godzilla movie, and there's a whole narrative to the 611 that was connected to the whole pedo stuff. Remember, Ani? With the whole, don't even say that word, but to the whole Trump of that, there was a whole 611 code. And that code ties back to San Francisco, and you know what? The big golden string.
Phenylaniline. That's another one. Selenium and phenylaniline is chemicals directly in melanin, and it's contributed to a lot of different factors. And I'm not speaking the melanin. Everyone possesses.
We have melanin too.
Every animal, every plant has melanin. That's what I'm saying. We got thrown off what melanin is, and we're confusing melanocytes from the different. Now there is melanated people that have a certain carbon origin. You see what I'm saying? And then you have makeups of which the admixtures and different people that genetically are from these people that started from carbon. This is how you get the different types of races. But we all are origin from carbon. Carbon is the origin of this whole blueprint of DNA. So that's why when you think of carbon from a scientific stance, you think of blackness, you think of darkness, but that's been obscured throughout religion and history. Blackness and darkness is litigated to demonic or something negative. So we even in law, when you look into law, blackness is also relegated to something that's negative. You know, so these things, they reversed it. And it's a inversion in masonry that's taking place all the time to invert how we look at reality. But the main thing I want you guys to pay attention to when you watch these TV shows, these people are selected. If you go back and watch The Boys, Gen V, even some parts when you're looking at Supercell, you'll realize that these people are selected for this blueprint story that plays out.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think they're selected, or do you think we're tapped into a source code?
I mean,
Like, you know, Logan,
a source code, but the code is being regenerated, and the code is being generated synthetically.
right.
They're synthetically generating what the source code is. That's what they call hijack. When what a hacker does, he's hijacking the data mainframe, and he's manipulating the data. That's what these people are doing.
Oh, yeah.
So the origin, you can't change that. The origin is the source.
Mm-hmm.
But learning to hijack, I mean, if you look at what the Matrix was about, was it
Filler in plastic, it blocks away electrical energy to where you're not able to receive those plasma energies that gives a influx of energy to the neuroendocrine transducer, which operates under the Venturi effect. It has a velocity of ether that has the ability to unlock, say, certain capabilities that's connected to your subconscious mind when it merges in with the conscious mind. That is basically the doctrine of signatures of the galactic sun and the black sun on the mental level.
So that's powerful. That sun is that black sun information is very important. That's what, you know, that political class you talk about. Don't know.
Yeah. Does it represent higher consciousness, Ani, the black sun? Does it have anything to do with higher consciousness?
It represents
Super
the Bindu,
or something?
it's the Bindu seed. It's a micro.
Bennu bird?
You say what?
Did you say the Bennu seed?
The Bindu seed, Bindu.
Okay.
And there's this little micro particle at the base of your spine. That is the black sun. It rises during the day through something called chrism, the chrism oil.
Yeah, the crystal. So our spine represents the Jacob's ladder, or the chimney, Santa Claus going down the chimney. That's that secretion, right?
It represents longitudinal coherence in physics. And that is the Tower of Babylon, the Jacob's ladder, the Freemasonic ladder, all of that. They're just recycling that and putting it into iconography of their agendas through their symbols. But our body is this spiritual engine. And that black sun represents that first particle that begins at the base of the spine, and it raises and it sets 90 degrees in the west once it reaches the pineal gland, and then it recycles and goes right back down every day. Yep. And there's something they mapped this out, Tommy, called the night thermoron. They literally map out every part of your body is a different zodiac sign. And that black sun, that Bindu particle, is representative of the sun holographically in this dimension, traversing the zodiac signs in the luminary bodies outside of the program here. But we are representative in the physical body of the programs of the luminary bodies. Does that make sense?
You know, I just like looked up because I heard that word Bindu on Star Wars. Is it the same word?
Hormone, and that emotional gas hormone basically creates a glycolytic enzyme, and that glycolytic enzyme basically manipulates the neurological interface of the brain structure, and it stagnates for the neuromelanin to be activated. So the neuromelanin is what is the foundation of how you go into light code transmission, and when you go into quantum physics, metaphysics, and mind science technology. So that activation in itself has to put you in alignment to where you can activate the God body and the God mind. So if the mind is subjugated by way of parasites and nanoparticles, you're not able to tap into that power. So that's why it's imperative to go to saunas and go to steam rooms, because it activates the body to where it basically destabilizes the energy blockages that's connected to your seven energy cortexes, which is basically your chakra system. Your chakra system is connected to the endocrine system. So when you have the endocrine system in alignment, which is comprised of the thymus gland that's connected to the heart chakra, and then you have the thyroid gland, and then you have the hypothalamus gland, which is the master gland, where you become a mastermind. So heat is a good thing because heat basically copulates with the carbon body. So it's basically the same thing as when you're talking about the manifestation of creation, because the photon hydrogen atom creates electrons, electrons create elements, and elements create molecules, and molecules create organs, and organs create organ systems. So that is basically the epitome of creation by way of the heat activation, which is the ether, right? Because ether is nothing but an amalgamation of energy that is comprised of electrical energy, thermodynamics, hydrodynamics, electrical radiation, and resonant energy, which is basically the foundation of antimatter. So antimatter is trapped light, which is carbon. That is dark matter energy. So the same thing takes place when you're talking about particles and atoms. You got quark stars that create leptons. Leptons create the bosons, and the boson creates the Higgs particle, and the Higgs particle is the foundation of the God particle, which is equated to the God mind by way of gamma radiation. So gamma radiation is the highest frequency. That is basically your foundation of activating the God mind. So that's where you get into the Christ consciousness aspect, because when you activate the mind, as I told you before, you unlock the energy cortexes within yourself, which are basically portals. Every chakra system that you have is an interstellar vortex portal that connects you to the space-time continuum through the grand unified theory.
Wow. So how long? We was talking about this as well. You know, when you go into the you do the steam room, I do the sauna. But what makes you personally do steam rooms over the sauna?
I feel like a steam room, like now you got a sauna, an infrared sauna. It'll basically heat up your body from the inside out to where it starts to extract a lot more sweat. If you have like energy blockages and your body feels sore or whatever. But as far as a steam room, I feel like it has a lot more healing modalities, because due to the extra extraction from the steam that's producing a lot more sweat, it activates the sweat glands a lot more extensively. So that's why I prefer a steam room instead.
Okay. How long do you recommend people who are trying to activate their genes to stay in that steam room?
I say I go in there, what I'm saying, if you're not used to it, don't even try to tap into that energy. I stay in there for about 45 minutes, 30 minutes,
Oh, yeah, that's a long time.
Because what happens is it opens up those portals within you, and then starting to extract all the things that's basically just subjugating the body. So like I said, when you go into a sauna, if you've never been in there, I'm telling you, you're going to have the best sleep ever afterwards, because it's going to be unlocking things within yourself that you never had before.
Right.
You're going to feel this heaviness, and this energy is going to be basically dematerialized once you get out of a sauna or a steam room. So it's really good for the body. So it's like
I saw one website where they were saying saunas are actually very spiritual, because you go into that sauna, it's a very sacred spiritual spot. People are always talking about the physical benefits, but it does have metaphysical benefits. So they said a sauna is good for cleansing your soul, and really cleaning out your soul, because when you sweat, you're releasing water out of your body, and water cleans things, but we also have those dirty water molecules inside of us. So we're like kind of saying recycling
most
anything
definitely.
Right.
So it's one of those things where understand that you know about Yaki awakening. I remember
Yeah.
he told you that, you know, water is actually a unnatural substance, but you're supposed to use it to purify the body, but you're not supposed to be drinking it because, you know, water in itself contains oxidation. So oxidation basically breaks down the hemoglobin cellular structure within your genetics to where the aging process starts to take place. So anytime you sit in heat, it raises up your vibration, it speeds up the magnetic field or the heart chakra, and it speeds up the magnetic field of the brain. So when you have the brain and the heart chakra working in tandem, that puts you in a state of supreme balancement, which is equated to the laws of Mayat. So when you're in a state of balance, what happens is that's when you go into 0 point energy, as we were talking about before. 0 point energy is connected to the allegory of dark matter energy. Dark matter energy is connected to the carbon body. You activate the carbon body when you're able to balance both those energies by way of the heat that's activating the sun heat genes, which is equated to the energy of the sun when you're talking about granulations and prominences. So the non-ether in itself, that's how you activate the melanin or the neuromelanin, whatever you want to call it. So people got to understand the dichotomy between melanin and carbon. Everybody on the planet has melanin. You know, every species, every race on the planet has melanin, but every race and every species doesn't have carbon. Everybody doesn't have the ability to activate the carbon, which is comprised of 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, which is equated to the symbology of the biblical context of 666. So that's what I'm saying. You know, so when you go against your energetic vibration to raise up your vibration, that's when you become the Antichrist because you are anti yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. Okay. That is that's a good breakdown. So, you know, going deeper into this, you know, this begs me to ask the question, should we be getting the cold? Should we be eating cold foods? Should we be, you know, raising the temperature, lowering it down? Is the cold harmful to us?
It depends on how you look at it because the cold also has a lot of healing modalities and properties. So usually when I get out of a sauna or when I get out of a steam room, I immediately go take a cold shower afterwards because it activates the serotonin levels, and those serotonin levels is the precursor to activating the dopamine, and that dopamine activates the melanin. Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I didn't know serotonin was connected to melanin.
It's all connected to the brain. It's all connected to the energetic frequency of the brain, which is also connected to the hypothalamus gland, the master gland, when you activate the 3rd and 4th ventricle of the brain. So this is where you get the whole concept of pressure makes diamond, because pressure makes diamonds because you have magnetizing dendrites within the brain structure, right, which is comprised of your so-called allegory of the crown of thorns around Jesus's head. So that pressure, that gas, that heat is what activates the God mind, the Christ consciousness. You become Christ when you activate your genetical structure. That's what it's basically talking about. So you got to go to the room. You got to go to the sauna. You got to get cryostasis therapy, cryogenic therapy. You got to go get massages. Because it's one of those things where people think that, you know, spirituality is all about, you know, wearing head wraps and crystals and meditating and stuff like that. Yeah, you got to tap into the energy that way, but you also have to do the work. You got to use the matrix in order to get out. You got to spend that money. You got to spend that bag in order to, you know, to tap into that energy. Unfortunately, because we live in a patriarchal system where everything is based on capitalism. So if you're going to be talking about, you're going to be using your money for something, use it for something that's going to activate your genetical structure to where you're able to reap the benefits of spiritual evolution as we're going through this great awakening process. Because as the planet is ascending, you're supposed to be ascending with the planet by way of the genetical activation that's connected to the carbonated energy and the ethers on planet Earth.
So going forward into the sun, right? You know, the sun a lot of the times is the first thing that people think about when it comes to heating up your body. Should that be the first thing people go to, or should it be a sauna? What's the first way you should heat up your body? What's your
sunlight? In my opinion, natural sunlight, just like you had the slaves back in the days. But see, that's one thing, you know, black people get sick now because they don't sweat. They ain't sweating. So like I said, you had the slaves back in the day. They was out there humming, you know, working in the fields, and they was sweating. They was activating that melanin. That's how they was able to understand the esoteric secrets of the pathways on how to navigate the stars in order to get out of, you know, those plantations, because they didn't have no maps. A lot, you know what I'm saying? A lot of them niggas, they didn't even know how to read. You know what I'm saying? Because due to the subjugation from the slave master, so when you activate the melanin, you activate the mind, and when you activate the mind, that creates a energetic space to where you're able to navigate through the matrix, that to where you can tap into the quantum mind that taps into the quantum world. So, like I said, sweating in itself is how you activate the body. It's how you activate the melanin. It extracts all the parasites outside of the body. So that's what, you know, that's a problem with a lot of black people, man. Like, they ain't sweating enough. That's why so many people are getting sick nowadays. They don't sweat. They don't work out. Like I said, get inside that sun. That's the natural way, because the UV radiation light spectrum in itself is going to help you, you know, activate that neuromelanin. It's going to help you activate that carbon body. So it's imperative to get the natural sunlight, work out, run, you know what I'm saying? Get those sweat glands activated. Because when you understand the inception of creation, when you go through the 11 seeds of Canaan, when you understand the Levitical law in the Bible and the monotheistic context of it, one thing you got to understand is that the Girgashite is the fourth seed of the Canaanite, and the pig was extracted out of the Girgashite through genetic splicing. So that means that the pig is a cursed animal. Why is it a cursed animal? The pig is a cursed animal because it doesn't have any sweat glands, right? So it basically houses parasitical entities. So that's why, you know, you're not supposed to be eating pork, right? Because pork is basically an unclean entity because it has trichinomosis, it eats its own feces. And then when you understand the metaphysical essence of it and the esoteric knowledge of occultic knowledge, what the Catholic priests, they actually used to use the pigs as a transmutation process to transmute the demon from the person during a exorcism. They transmute the demon and they put it inside the pig. So they transmute the demon through horizontal gene transfer, and to where they tap into the spiritual world when they using all these seances or whatever, and they transmute the demonic spirit out of the person, and then once it's out of the body, it goes into the pig, because the pig is an unclean entity. Anything that's unclean, that's where demonic spirits is able to attach to it. So soon as it basically attaches to the pig, that's when they crucify the pig, they kill the pig. You got to watch a lot of exorcism movies, and when you see that, like, so when you talking about
so sweating is a form of exorcism.
No. Sweating is a form to extract parasites.
Okay.
Parasites to where demonic entities, because demonic entities, they're able to leech onto these parasites. These parasites take over your energetic morphic field. And then that's when your auric field becomes compromised to where they compromise the nervous system. So that's why, like I said, parasites in itself is not just subjected to enzymes inside of the food. It's connected to nanoparticles, which is a form of nanotechnology. That is a form of a parasite, because parasites basically locks down your genetical structure by way of technological radiation. So like what I'm saying is, you know, it's one of those things where you got to understand that sweating basically extracts anything that's negative to the body. That's how you activate the carbon. When you use activated carbon is charcoal. So that's the best way you get out of these a lot of these parasites and these heavy metals. That's the best way to extract it.
When you say charcoal, you mean black charcoal?
Not, I ain't talking about the shit that you grill with, but I'm talking about like
activated black charcoal.
Yeah. You
put
some,
that's I literally got some right now. You know, Lifeway gave me some, but you know, I didn't know it was that. So you're saying that right there is like the junk. That's the power right there.
Yeah. It extract anything that's negative to the body, and then get you some duck flour. Do a duck flour detox.
Man, I'm scared to do that one. I still got it. I still got it in my place, bro. I'm scared to do it, bro.
Yeah, that duck flour is a whole different story.
Yeah. You done it before? How was your experience?
Yeah, I did duck flour one time. It was last year. That duck flour gonna turn you into a mighty duck. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna.
wait, hold on. So you done it, and did you throw up? Like, what happened?
Yeah. I threw up, and it extracts anything that's basically negative to the body. So it's a good thing for you to do that. So it's gonna have you using the bathroom a lot.
How did you feel? You lost some weight. I heard some people lose weight after doing that.
Yeah, you're gonna lose weight. You lose a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna get rid of a lot of that brain fog. It activates everything within the body.
So that's true. Like when people have an unhealthy body, brain fog is what comes up. That's a symptom. But when you detox your body, there's no more brain fog.
That's why I go. That's why you gotta sit in that steam room, because that steam itself, like I said, it's a form of synthetic electrical plasma energy, which is comprised of gas. So that gas activates the sun heat gene. So when you get those gases and those granulations activated, it is extracting anything. It basically is making the magnetic field of the brain pulsate. It's kind of like the same thing that's happening on the planet Earth. The sun is the steam room. The planet Earth, which is a representation of carbon, is connected to the emulation of the carbon body. So when you have the sun beaming on the planet, it activates the magnetic field of the planet. When you go into a steam room, the steam room is in alignment to the heat that's coming from the sun. It activates the magnetic field of the body, activates the magnetic field of the heart chakra. It activates the magnetic field of the brain, your neurological faculties. So it gets rid of that brain fog, because when you go into a steam room or a sauna, the body begins to pulsate. It pulsates because it's tricking the body that it's in a state of not exorcism, but to where you're exercising. So what I'm saying is, it's like one of those things where it's good for blood circulation. It's good for speeding up your heart rate.
Have you heard about? They said that when you go into the sauna or steam room, it activates the runner's high.
Yeah.
That's like probably my favorite benefit of going to the sauna. Like me just sitting in there for 10, 15 minutes. And I used to run myself, but when I used to like run, you get that runner's high. You get high just all working out. And when you go into the sauna, you get that same feeling just from sitting down. You get that same feeling of just feeling high off life. You know what I'm saying? And but you're the first one who really highlighted the spiritual and metaphysical properties of a sauna and steam room, because a lot of people just think that a sauna and steam room is just physical, when in reality you just said yourself that it helps all the chakras. So
it gets rid of the energy blockages, because that's another thing. Like I said, once you start to unlock those keys within yourself, that's when you're able to tap into the quantum world. That's when you're able to tap into the energy of remote viewing a lot more extensively. That's when you're able to activate the ethereal body as these ethereal energies is coming in. The ether, the green etherian energy, which is comprised of gamma radiation. So that gamma radiation is comprised of gases, and those gases activate the gases within you. So like I said, it's one of those things where people just got to tap into that energy and stop running from it. So if you don't have a gym membership, it's imperative that during this time period, especially right now, everything is in a state of warfare. Everything is around you. So that's the best way to get the body in alignment.
Because me myself, I'm plant-based. I know you are plant-based, or
I eat a lot of fish.
You plant-based?
No, fish.
Okay. So you're pescatarian, but I even heard that even when you're plant-based, the food is still messed up. You're still dealing with, foods that still got parasites in it, and, all types of pesticides, the lettuce, everything, even the vegan food is messed up. So you gotta still low-key gotta still sweat it out of your body. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not sweating it out, it's staying in your body, and, you gotta run, you gotta work out. And what's funny, BDELL? So I did a lot of research, me being a 7, and I did some research on sweating. Google tells you that sweating is bad for you. I put this on my soul. They say that when you sweat, it's a myth that they try to mythologize everything, make everything seem like, okay, you sweating out? Nah, that's not good. Like that doesn't really do, like they're trying to find the scientific evidence to find that sweating is actually a good thing. But we already know that it's a good thing.
Yeah, because, because sweating in itself is not really conducive to everything that's taking place as far as their matrix system. Because they're not, if you're not sweating, that means you're going to get sick. So if you're going to get sick, that's connected to capitalism. You know what I'm saying? Because they make money off sick people. That's how that system basically survives. So of course they're going to say that. You know what I'm saying? Everything is a form of warfare here on this planet.
Right. Of course, they
That's
will
what
say that.
patriarchy is. That's what patriarchy is. It's the epitome of war, and that war in itself is connected to capitalism. So that's why I said, it subjugates the matriarch, because it takes you away from natural law and natural order in the natural ways of planet Earth.
Oh, do you recommend, since we're on the topic of heat, do you recommend heaters? People to buy a heater?
I'm not sure about that, but you can actually buy home built saunas too. You can get some on Amazon. I don't know if they have the same healing properties. I don't know if it's going to extract a lot more sweat, but like if you can get into a sauna or whatever, or steam room, like as far as like buying a heater, I don't really know about that. I mean, some people do hot yoga, so I mean, it could be one of those things where you can tap into that. Hot yoga is also one of those things where you can unlock those blockages within the body, because hot yoga is when they turn up the heat and they just be in a room. It's like you're doing yoga inside of a sauna or a steam room. You're gonna be drenched. So a lot of times, like I said, I stretch when I'm inside the steam room. I stretch. I stand up because heat has the ability to elevate. Heat rises to the top. So when you stand up in a steam room, it activates a lot more of the sun heat genes within you. So standing up in a sauna, working out in a sauna, like as far as like some people run in place inside of the sauna or a steam room or whatever. So anything that's going to make you extract a lot more sweat is actually good for the body.
So next question. When it comes to, the race of melanated people, do you recommend this only for the melanated people or for all races?
What, as far as what?
As far as making that importance to sweat out your body and importance to get the sun.
Oh, it's important for everybody to sweat, but as far as like during this time period when you're talking about the Great Awakening period, as we in the sun cycle, you have to get these energies that's coming from the star Polaris, because that's the true spiritual sun. So you get people talking about, oh, I want to activate my powers. How you gonna do that when your ass ain't in the sun? Because that was basically the symbology of the spiritual cutoff when they tell you that Satan separated the intergalactic waters from the third dimension. So that spiritual cutoff is when you have the fermented dome. The firmament is what blocks out the spiritual sun to where you're not able to tap into the energy. So now, since the veil is being lifted as we broke out the Kali Yuga cycle, these new energies that's coming in is where you're activating your telepathic abilities. It's coming from the true spiritual sun. So that's why sometimes when you looking at your phone or whatever, somebody might pop up, and then you go to the grocery store and you see them and you ain't seen them in a long time. That means that those telepathic abilities is starting to come online. It means that you're vibrating along with the planet. So it's imperative that you got to go out into the sun, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, however long you can take it, work out in the sun. That's one of the things I'm going to incorporate within myself. I'm not just going to be only subjected to working out in the gym. I'm going to be working out outside as well.
Right. What gym membership you got?
Shit, I got like 4 or 5 of them. I got I go to Planet Fitness, I go to Bob's Gym, and then I also go to YMCA. The reason I go to Bob's gym sometimes is when I can't get into the steam room at the YMCA, I go to Bob's gym and they got the sauna. That's just basically my alternative, basically.
So you still use the sauna as well?
Yeah, I use it as a secondary.
Secondary. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a secondary thing.
Because I mean, the gym I go to LA Fitness, bro. They don't got no steam room. They just got the sauna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, LA Fitness. I mean, what you think about LA Fitness?
I say I've never been to one. We don't have LA Fitness in the Midwest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang. So going into the heat, you know, since we're on the topic of the sun and things like that, when do you feel like the solar flare is going to happen?
Oh, the solar flares has been happening because that's when you having a manipulation in the technological grid system.
But like the main big solar flare.
So when you're talking about the great solar flash, the great solar flash is basically gonna knock out the whole energetic power grid in totality, because the power grid in itself is connected to the electrical grid system that also works in tandem with the firmament, because the firmament is a form of a technology. It has a regeneration technology. It's kind of like the same thing. You ever seen the movies, the superhero movies, where a superhero, he get his arm blown off and it grows right back?
Yeah. Like an X-Men, they have the healing factor where they grow back everything.
Yeah, that's a regeneration system. That's what the firmament does. It has a regeneration system. So these new energies, these coronal mass ejections and these solar flares that's in the planet, it basically dematerializes that energy, which is also the net of Indria. And the net of Indria is what they call the Draconian reptilian net. So that's why it's not coincidence that you have the inner net that's connected to the energetic frequency of the Draconian reptilian net, because the net in itself is connected to all electrical energy on the planet, all technological devices on the planet. So it's not a coincidence that the internet is connected to the Draconian reptilian net, the net around the planet that blocks out certain energies. But like I said, the veil is lifted now. We in the sun cycle. That sun cycle is basically exposing everything under the grid system. So this is where you get into the liquid crystal technology. So the liquid crystal technology is basically how these entities are able to absorb the energy from technological radiation to hide their true form. So that's why I said that for Draconian reptilians, shape-shifting is not a spiritual ability, it's a technology.
Wow.
So now, when it comes to us, we're able to shapeshift because, like I said, we have spiritual animals. We have spiritual animals that we're connected to by way of certain cultures or whatever. So when you activate the God mind, that's when you're able to shapeshift into these spiritual animals. You ever seen the movie, the old TV show called Animorphs? It's kind of like Power Rangers, but yeah, these teenagers, they were able to shapeshift. That was a spiritual energy that they was tapped into. So that's when it kind of goes into the same mythology of what's the movie? Wakanda, when you're talking about the Black Panther. That's a spiritual energy. But as far as Draconian reptilians and other entities and all these other particular grades, shape-shifting is a technology for them. So that's why the sleep spell in itself is connected to the electrical grid that works in tandem with the energetic frequency of the moon and the energetic frequency of planet Saturn, because that creates the holographic projections of the simulation.
I heard Saturn, you know me, I study astrology. I heard Saturn is a very cold planet. Do you know about this?
Yes, Saturn is the epitome of the fallen planet, because Saturn used to be a star, so it's a dead star. So planet Saturn is actually comprised of gases. It's a gas planet. Look it up. It's a gas planet that has a ring around it. So when you understand the esoteric aspect of it, the word nomad is equated to Saturn, because those who came down, when you're talking about the cherubim and the 200 fallen angels, Saturn is basically a representation of those fallen Draconians that came to this planet and made it with the daughters of men. So that's why when you understand the Canaanite and the Draconian reptilian genetical lineage or whatever, their historical context is comprised of the fact that they don't actually belong to the planet because they're nomads. So it's connected to Enlil, and that's how you get into the diametrical differences between Enki and Enlil. Enki is the lord of the earth, which is connected to, that's why we're connected to the seeds of Enki, because we're connected to that bloodline by way of birthright. So the birthright in itself is what connects us to the land. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which gives us nationality. Nationality comes from the word nativity. Nativity comes from the word birthright. Our birthright comes from Enki. We're the seeds of Enki. The word Enki means Lord of Earth. Enlil, Lord of the Sky. Lord of the Sky, or Satan being the Prince of Air. So that's why they said as Satan is equated to Saturn. Saturn is a gas planet. It's a fallen sun. It's a dead sun. It's a dead star. So that's what it's talking about. Saturn is equated to Kronos and things of that nature. So everybody understand the mythology of Saturn when it comes to how things are able to take place on planet Earth.
Yeah. And the fact that Saturn rules over karma, it rules over, restrictions, boundaries. We have a Saturn return at, age starts at age 27, ends at age 30. Yeah. What do you think about
Saturn was also extracting energy from the Draconian star constellation, because when we broke out of the Kali Yuga cycle, that was the paradigm shift from going from the Alpha Draconis star system to the star Polaris, because the precessional circle of the equinox is basically like the management who manages the planet. So you have star systems outside of the dome in the magnetosphere. So the precessional circle of the equinox, all the Piscean age of darkness was being facilitated by the Draconian star constellation, which subjugated nature to where they created Draconian law under patriarchy. So it's not a coincidence that patriarchy and Draconian law works in tandem, to where they have to implement fear. That's how the system works, fear. So by way of the extraction of fear is how these entities in the lower fourth dimension, the demiurge, which is comprised of the lower fourth dimension and the third dimension, that's where they extract the fear by way of our neurological faculties and by way of our genetics, because that's when you get the extraction of neurons that's coming from the body, from technology and fear, to where they upload it on the neuromorphic cyber cloud. So everything on this planet at one point in time during the Piscean age of darkness, the third dimension, was based on extracting your genetics to where it subjugates the spiritual energy to where you're not able to tap into your true power.
Wow. So let me ask you this. Do you feel like the internet is an actual entity? Because some people believe that the internet has a soul. So every time you post something, if it goes viral, it's like the Galactic Council made it go viral. And then sometimes you post something, it doesn't do nothing. That's because the universe doesn't want it to do nothing. So do you feel like the universe is connected to the internet?
I wouldn't say that, because the universe is within us. Our genetical structure works in tandem with the universe. So everything as far as like technology, it's an artificial construct. It's a synthetic reality that basically mimics natural law and natural nature, which mimics also the universe. So everything that technology does is is basically emulating what happens in the cosmos. So it's basically, you know what I'm saying? That's what archons do. An archon doesn't have the ability to create. An archon basically extracts energy from those who are connected to the planet. It emulates it. So an archon or a Draconian reptilian, they don't have the ability to create within this simulation. They create through our energy of creation.
So I want to ask you this. So there's some people, they can't handle the heat, and I don't know if it's a diet, but why can't they handle the heat? Like even if they go into a sauna, within 5 minutes they're already crying or already trying to leave. Even at the sun, they're already like whining, or there's some black, and their mind's skin color, but they cannot take the heat. What does that mean, BDELL?
Too many Big Macs. Too many Big Macs. You know what I'm saying? Like they when you eat a lot of bad foods, as I was telling you in the beginning of the video, a lot of these parasites are basically comprised of nanoparticles. Nanoparticles is comprised of genetically modified foods. So when you eat these foods, it locks down your genetical structure. that is what you get your personification of a lunar light lock energy, because the nanoparticles within the food, those parasites, works in tandem with the moon. The moon is energy in motion, right? Where you extract a lot of emotions. So the parasites, they create a glycolytic enzyme, which is a emotional gas hormone. So these parasites that's inside the food, it basically subjugates the true spiritual energy to where it subjugates their emotions to where you're not able to use your emotions as a navigation system.
And then also, you know how they talk about the food you eat also has a strong connection to your emotions. That's why they call them, what's it called? They genetically made these foods to alter your emotions. That's why you'll be fasting and then you eat a food off that fast, and now you're a little bit more emotional. And now you're feeling a little bit more, angry sometimes. Even same with the music.
Yeah, because you're not actually addicted to the food, you're addicted to the chemicals. So that's why they call it the FDA. You know what I'm saying? The reason they call it that, because like I said, the food that you eat is actually a drug by way of the chemicalization. So you're not addicted to the food, you're addicted to the chemicals. You know what I'm saying? As far as the chemical imbalance, it creates a spiritual imbalance within you. It throws off the whole endocrine system. It throws it off.
So, hey, BDELL, can you explain the link between Superman and the melanated beings, and how Superman is also a representation of us?
Well, when you're talking about the tri-solar system, when you're talking about the inception of creation, the tri-solar system is comprised of three suns, which is Utu, Apsu, and Shamash. You got a red sun, a yellow sun, and a blue sun that's connected to the color spectrum of Superman's garments. So Superman, he was able to draw in his energy through an influx of electrical plasma energy that activates the melanin. So when you activate the melanin, that's when you tap into your true power. So it activates the sun heat genes. The sun heat genes, which are granulations and prominences. So this is also connected to the esoteric aspect of Jesus. That's why the word Jesus has a lot of power to it, because Jesus comes from the word Jesus. Jesus is coming from the word gases, and those gases are non-Ethereum frequencies that's copulating with the carbon body. So that's why when you watch some of the old Superman movies, the one, they equated him to having a Christ energy. He was basically the personification of the Christ. When he came down, he was basically politicking with the people. They treated him like Jesus, Superman, in the movie. He was like their epitome of the Most High. He was their epitome of a savior. He was basically the symbology of a savior in that movie. So when you activate those genes, that's when you become the Christ. You become the savior, because you save yourself. When you save yourself, you save everybody else around you, to where it creates the harmonic convergence. That harmonic convergence is comprised of the 144,000. 1 + 4 + 4 = 9. So when everybody activates the 9 ether energy, that's when everybody becomes the Christ. So it's not one of those things where we're going to have a messianic figure. The messianic figure